Debbie Swaggart, wife of evangelist Donnie Swaggart, has finally broken her silence following the swirling allegations involving Donnie's mother, Frances Swaggart. Speaking with a heavy heart but firm conviction.
In the world of televangelism, appearances often mask deeper struggles. What happens when the heir to a religious empire faces personal turmoil that shakes the foundation of a family legacy? Donnie Swaggart's divorce, remarriage, and return have left many followers stunned, raising questions about loyalty, power, and control behind the scenes. Could this be a story of redemption, or is it a carefully crafted image to preserve a dynasty? And what role did family pressures and legacy expectations play in this shocking saga? The truth behind the pulpit is far more complicated than anyone imagined. The divorce that shocked many. The news of Donnie and Debbie Swaggart's divorce sent shockwaves through the evangelical world, shattering the image of a perfect ministry family. For years, they had been seen as the united front of the Swaggart legacy, preaching together, smiling on broadcasts, and presenting a seemingly unbreakable bond. Yet beneath the surface, tensions had quietly begun to mount. What caused the heir to one of televangelism's most powerful dynasties to walk away from his marriage remained a mystery that fueled widespread speculation. No official explanation was ever provided by the Family Worship Center or Jimmy Swaggart Ministries, leaving a noticeable silence where there should have been answers. Rumors spread quickly, whispers of infidelity, spiritual crises, and deep personal conflicts circulated among insiders and followers alike. But none of these theories have ever been confirmed, and the ministry's silence only intensified the intrigue. What was evident was that this split was far more than just a private family matter. It had implications for the entire religious empire. Behind the public face of ministry, some close to the family suggested that Donnie's desire for independence might have clashed with Debbie's traditional, home-centered values. The pressures of living up to the Swaggart name, while juggling personal and spiritual responsibilities, were immense. Many wondered if the perfect image carefully maintained by the ministry concealed fractures too deep to mend. The divorce felt like the first visible crack in a carefully constructed facade. Some insiders hinted at a darker, more complicated cause tied to their son Gabriel. Could the pressures surrounding Gabriel's future within the ministry have strained the marriage beyond repair? These suggestions raised even more questions, but little clarity. The Swaggarts remained tight-lipped, leaving their followers to piece together fragments of a story buried beneath layers of public image and private pain. The absence of public statements made the divorce all the more puzzling, especially considering the values the ministry preached. Family unity and stability are core tenets of their message, making this rupture seem even more shocking and difficult for supporters to accept. For many, the silence spoke volumes, signaling a battle being fought behind closed doors that no one outside the family was allowed to see. What followed was a period of intense speculation and quiet observation as the evangelical community grappled with the implications. How would this fracture affect the future of the Swaggart ministry? And could the family ever return to the image of unity that their followers cherished? These unanswered questions hovered in the air, setting a tone of uncertainty that deepened with time. Despite the turmoil, Donnie's role within the ministry remained prominent, and Debbie stayed close to ministry activities, further fueling curiosity about what was really happening behind the scenes. The carefully managed appearances suggested a desire to contain the fallout while maintaining the ministry's reputation. Yet, the divorce had opened a Pandora's box of doubts and rumors that have never fully dissipated. This silence and mystery surrounding the divorce laid the groundwork for the complex family dynamics that would soon become impossible to ignore, especially as deeper questions about Gabriel's place in the family emerged. Gabriel Swaggart's story is inseparable from the unfolding family drama, and offers a window into the personal strains that shaped this saga. Gabriel's role in tensions. Gabriel Swaggart was born into a legacy that carried heavy expectations as the eldest son of Donnie Swaggart and Debbie Swaggart. From an early age, he was positioned as the likely future face of the Swaggart ministry, quickly rising as a youth preacher with a confident public presence. His early visibility made him both a symbol of continuity and a source of pressure within the family. Behind that public image, however, tensions reportedly grew between his parents over how he should be raised and prepared for ministry. Some sources claim Donnie pushed for Gabriel to take on leadership roles early, shaping him into a reflection of his own ministerial identity. Debbie, on the other hand, was said to favor a more gradual path, wanting Gabriel to have more personal freedom before being fully absorbed into the ministry spotlight. This difference in approach is often cited as one of the underlying strains in their marriage. Speculation also kind of pops up about whether Gabriel's early arrival maybe sort of intensified the family pressures that were already there. Some insiders say his birth doubled down on the expectation that the Swaggart legacy needed a clear successor, and that made things heavier for Donnie to keep up a solid public family image. Over time, this insistence on continuity and reputation may have pushed emotional distance further into the household. And then there's Frances Swaggart, the family matriarch, who is brought up a lot in these accounts about Gabriel's rise. She's described as having a hands-on role in carefully shaping his public image, making sure his reputation stayed shielded as he took on more responsibility within the ministry. Even if that sort of reinforced steadiness, it also kept openness at arm's length about what was going on internally. Gabriel's rapid ascent became an asset, but also a pressure point for the family. His rising visibility helped maintain confidence in the ministry's future during stretches of personal and organizational strain. But it also made people wonder how much of his path was genuinely chosen and how much was molded by expectation. Ultimately, Gabriel's story shows this tangled crossroads of faith, family obligation, and inheritance. His place as a rising leader helped steady the ministry, yet it also surfaced the emotional cost of keeping a generational religious institution running. As tensions over Gabriel simmered, an unexpected chapter unfolded with Donnie's second marriage, adding new complications to an already fragile situation. The secret second marriage. Donnie Swaggart's second marriage came as a surprise to many within the evangelical community, largely because the woman he married was never clearly identified in public-facing ministry coverage. Unlike other members of the Swaggart family, whose relationships and roles are consistently visible through broadcasts and church events, this marriage remained mostly hidden from view. The lack of information about her identity quickly fueled speculation that she was not part of the established ministry circle, marking a noticeable departure from the tightly controlled public image of the family. From the outset, the relationship was reportedly unstable. Insiders describe ongoing tension between the new wife and Frances Swaggart, the family matriarch who is widely viewed as the central authority within both the household and the ministry. The new wife was often characterized as independent and unwilling to fully conform to the expectations of the ministry environment. This reportedly clashed with Frances's emphasis on discipline, unity, and strict alignment with the family's public image, placing Donnie in a difficult position between his spouse and his family obligations. As time passed, signs of strain reportedly became more visible to those close to the ministry. Rather than blending into the ministry's carefully managed public narrative, the marriage remained fragmented and largely absent from broadcasts and official appearances. This silence only increased curiosity among followers who were accustomed to the Swaggart family presenting a consistent and unified front. The marriage ultimately ended in divorce after a relatively short period, surprising many within the ministry's inner circle. The speed of the breakdown raised questions about what had occurred privately and why the relationship deteriorated so quickly. For observers, it underscored the pressures placed on personal relationships within a high-profile religious organization where public image and institutional stability are deeply intertwined. What happened to the second wife after the divorce remains largely unknown. The ministry has never offered a detailed public explanation of her role or departure, leaving a gap in the official narrative. This absence has led to speculation that her presence was seen as incompatible with the ministry's carefully maintained image, resulting in a quiet effort to minimize her visibility in retrospect. Following the divorce, Donnie eventually returned to Debbie Swaggart, a development that surprised many observers. The reconciliation was presented publicly in a restrained manner, restoring the appearance of family unity. Whether this return was motivated by personal reconciliation, family pressure, or both remains unclear. However, some insiders again point to Frances's influence as a possible factor. Given her long-standing role in shaping family outcomes and protecting the ministry's reputation. Behind the public image of stability, former staff described Donnie as struggling with emotional strain during this period. He is often portrayed as someone navigating intense personal challenges while also carrying the expectations of his family legacy. The contrast between the ministry's polished broadcasts and reported private turmoil highlights the complexity of life within a closely watched religious institution. Ultimately, the secrecy surrounding Donnie Swaggart's second marriage remains one of the most opaque chapters in his personal history, reflecting the broader tension between private reality and public image within the Swaggart family legacy. The tangled nature of these relationships sets the stage for examining the powerful influence of Frances Swaggart in the family's ongoing saga. Return to Debbie and image control. Donnie Swaggart's return to Debbie Swaggart surprised many followers and ministry insiders. After his short-lived second marriage ended, the couple quietly reconciled and began appearing together again at ministry events and broadcasts. The reunion restored the image of a united family, though little was publicly said about the separation or the events that led to their return. Many observers believed the reconciliation was about more than personal forgiveness. Rumors circulated that Frances Swaggart played a major role behind the scenes, encouraging the reunion to preserve the ministry's reputation and maintain the image of a stable Christian household. Within televangelism, public image is closely tied to influence, credibility, and financial support, making family scandals especially damaging. Some insiders suggested that a second failed marriage could have seriously harmed the ministry's standing among longtime followers. By reuniting Donnie and Debbie without publicly revisiting the controversy, ministry leadership appeared focused on minimizing further attention and restoring confidence among supporters. Behind the scenes, though, the situation was reportedly a whole lot more complicated. Former staff members said Donnie seemed to be struggling, sort of juggling personal difficulties with the expectations that came attached to the Swaggart family legacy. He did return to a public ministry role, but some people felt you could still see the emotional strain under all that polished, public-facing appearance. Debbie also slid back into a tough spot within the ministry. She was reinstated beside Donnie at Family Worship Center, and she presented herself like things were steady and conducted with professionalism. Even so, there was still talk, unresolved tensions, and emotional wounds from the separation hanging around in the background. Since there wasn't any clear public explanation, many followers felt unsettled, and it only added fuel to criticism that the ministry preferred dealing with delicate matters quietly, rather than openly addressing them in plain view. The reunion, it also seemed to reinforce how the public viewed Gabriel Swaggart. His growing leadership role relies a lot on the appearance of family unity and continuity that looks unbroken. Keeping a stable family structure in place helped underline the ministry's longer-term succession plans. At least, that's what many interpreted. In the end, Donnie and Debbie's reconciliation made it pretty clear how personally charged the ministry interests were inside the Swaggart organization. Supporters treated the reunion like a signal of healing and restoration, but critics framed it as another example of image management getting priority over transparency. And that difference in interpretation became the whole point. Few within or outside the ministry realized just how much Frances Swaggart's presence guides the family's direction. Frances Swaggart's influence. Frances Swaggart, the matriarch of the Swaggart family, is widely regarded as one of the most influential yet least publicly scrutinized figures within the entire ministry structure. Known for her firm personality and unwavering control, she is said to operate as a stabilizing force behind the scenes, shaping both family decisions and institutional direction. While she rarely speaks in detail about internal matters, many longtime ministry volunteers and insiders believe that few significant choices within the family or the wider ministry occur without her awareness or approval. Her influence is often described as quiet but absolute. Rather than occupying a highly visible leadership role, she is believed to guide outcomes through private conversations, strategic decisions, and carefully managed expectations. Supporters see her as a guardian of legacy, ensuring that the ministry remains unified and protected from public scandal. Critics, however, argue that her approach prioritizes image preservation over personal well-being and transparency, creating a tightly controlled environment where difficult truths are rarely addressed openly. One of the most discussed areas of her influence concerns the marital history of Donnie Swaggart. According to multiple insider accounts, Francis played a central role in steering the reconciliation between Donnie and Debbie Swaggart following his brief second marriage. Although the details remain unconfirmed publicly, many within the ministry believe her intervention was decisive in restoring the public image of a unified family. Whether motivated by faith-based principles, concern for the ministry's reputation, or financial stability, her involvement is widely regarded as pivotal. Her influence is also closely tied to the rise of Gabriel Swaggart, the next-generation leader of the ministry. Francis is believed to have taken a strong interest in shaping Gabriel's public image from an early stage, ensuring that he is presented as a disciplined, stable, and trustworthy successor. This careful cultivation of reputation is viewed as part of a broader strategy to secure the ministry's long-term continuity and protect its leadership lineage. However, this level of control has not been without tension. Former associates suggest that Francis's authority can create friction within the family, particularly when personal decisions conflict with ministry priorities. Her reported intolerance for dissent has contributed to an environment where unity is expected, and disagreement is often handled privately rather than openly. While this structure may help maintain stability externally, it is also believed to intensify internal emotional pressures. Her role is also frequently linked, though often speculatively, to the fate of Donnie's second marriage. Some insiders suggest that her disapproval of the relationship may have influenced its eventual breakdown, reinforcing the idea that ministry reputation takes precedence over individual autonomy. While such claims remain unverified, they persist as part of the broader narrative surrounding the family's internal dynamics. Ultimately, Francis Swaggart's influence represents a delicate balance between stewardship and control. She is seen by some as the architect of the ministry's endurance, and by others as the force that tightly regulates its private realities. What remains clear is that her presence shapes nearly every layer of the Swaggart legacy, from leadership succession to family reconciliation, ensuring continuity while also preserving an image carefully curated for the public eye. As the family saga continues, the long-term effects of her decisions ripple through both the ministry's future and the lives caught in the intersection of faith and family. The aftermath of these power plays leaves lingering questions as the Swaggarts face an uncertain road ahead. Lingering fallout and questions. Despite the public image of unity surrounding the Jimmy Swaggart Ministries family, many unanswered questions continue to fuel speculation among followers and critics. Much of the mystery centers on Donnie Swaggart's second wife, and why so little is publicly acknowledged about that chapter of his life. The lack of transparency has led some to believe certain parts of the family's story were intentionally minimized to protect the ministry's carefully managed reputation. Questions have also emerged about the rise of Gabriel Swaggart as a leading figure within the ministry. Some observers believe his growing role reflects a deliberate effort to shape the next generation of leadership while moving attention away from past controversies. Supporters see Gabriel as a natural successor, while critics argue the family's public image has been tightly controlled for decades. The ministry's silence on personal controversies has kinda unsettled a few church members. They say it feels like they're just watching a polished slice of a much more complicated whole. Some critics also claim that the hesitation to talk plainly about family troubles damages the ministry's credibility, and it sparks worries about authenticity inside televangelism. Former insiders have talked about Donnie as someone who's constantly juggling huge public expectations with private struggles that don't neatly match the stage. The pressure of the Swaggart legacy, they say, has reportedly created tension between his public position as a spiritual figure and what's actually going on in his personal life. Off-camera, Francis Swaggart's influence is often seen as simultaneously stabilizing and controlling, like it helps the ministry keep its shape, while also narrowing what can be said about family matters. In a way, the Swaggart family story mirrors a wider struggle that many religious organizations face, keeping public trust intact, while also handling the human flaws and the messy conflicts of powerful leaders. Questions about transparency, image management, and legacy continue to hover around the ministry as it moves ahead. It's still unclear whether these unresolved issues will eventually fade out or turn into something bigger. Either way, supporters and critics alike keep pointing back to the Swaggart family as an example of how faith, family reputation, and public expectation can become tightly interwoven in the quiet spaces behind modern televangelism. The saga of Pastor Donnie Swaggart reveals the fragile balance between legacy, faith, and family pressure in the world of televangelism. Behind the polished image lie unanswered questions and struggles that humanize even the most revered figures. If you found this deep dive compelling, please like this video and subscribe for more stories that uncover the truth behind the headlines.